Um, I just would like to start off. I know at times we get our protocol, we think it's right, but it's wrong. We always acknowledge, the political faces that are there, the technocrats. But I think, first of all, we should always acknowledge the residents because without them, none of us would be here. So I really would want to acknowledge you first and then acknowledge our Honorable Member of Parliament, Honorable Mamombe, our town clerk, and your team of senior council management, our local Ward 41 staff, and His Worship, the mayor, the junior mayor, and the junior deputy mayor, the junior town clerk, and our junior local councillor. And I also would want them to just come through as I introduce our councillor for the proportional representation, Councillor Fadzaima Timba. I just want you to just visualize in council the leadership that you have as Ward 41. So, junior councillor and Councillor Matimba, if you could just come through. In council, um, this was the first time that we had 33 female proportionate representation policy happening through all local authorities. I think before we used to sit in parliament, but they then saw the limited number of female councillors that were coming through the elected seats and saw that there was a need to try and bring in and balance, the gender in council. So we have our councillor Fadzaima Timba, who's a resident in Marlborough, Newstead. That is Newstead, Old Marlborough, yes, Newstead Road, yes. And so we're actually very honored, to have three councillors really working for you as residents. So maybe I'll just give them an opportunity just to greet you, the honorable councillor, if you could. Just greet, yes. And just maybe say the school that you are at so that they can also visualize.
Oh, okay. A bright morning to you again. Stacey Mthatha from Marlborough High School, and it's an honor to be in front of you, talking to you guys. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
very much. Let's clap hands. This is our daughter. This is our own child. This is leadership in the making. Councillor Matimba.
I just want to greet you all, our residents here in Ward 41. My name is Fadzaima Timba. So I just want to thank you, our residents.
Thank you very much, Councillor. You may take a seat. I also want to then just bring to the podium our junior mayor because he's also a child from our own community and a student at St. John's Emerald Hill. Your worship, just come through. We need to acknowledge because what it then does is, as a community, we've been facing challenges with drugs, and to actually then have youths coming through from our own areas, showing other teenagers the right way of of going through with their lives, is such an accomplishment on their part, and I think we need to appreciate them. Your worship, if you could just great.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kuzibakwashi Maere. I am the junior mayor for Harare. I'm a student at St. John's Emerald Hill. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, your worship. Um, my speech, as I was planning this, I was thinking of how to, to word it. Our public relations department had actually even penned me a four, page speech to speak to the residents of Ward 41, and I put that aside because I felt that as a resident in this community and as your community leader that you have been trusted to represent you in council, I need to speak from the heart. I know the challenges that you've raised. I know the issues that we are facing as a community, and I think that then should be, the issues that I speak this morning. And I want to thank you once again, for voting me in the last harmonized elections. 11,000 of you came out through and voted. And this is the third time that you voted for me as councillor in the past 5 years, which is something that we've never experienced in any of the wards in the whole of Zimbabwe. So that in itself, it humbles me. I need to say this. It humbles me. I do not know uh, why you feel, or why you feel that you need to trust me more and more with each vote every time we go to election to represent you. It's either I'm doing it well, or your prophets and prophetesses, and you can see the future of what development I'll bring to the community. So I really would want to thank you for that, for entrusting me once again. Um, Mr. Pare, our DO, I think when I came through in 2018 in the first election, residents raised the issues of us having our own substantive DO. And I think for years, we have over 15 years. I can see Mama Kumalo is nodding her head. For over 15 years, we've never had our own DO. And, this is something from 2018 I was pushing through to council, to give us someone who's dedicated just for Ward 41. We used to have DOs that used to share, like Mrs. Verichena. She would then be working in the Mount Pleasant district office, the Marlborough district office, and the Marlborough district office. So, in terms of then putting in their 100% energy, it will be very difficult for them to come through and focus on our ward. So, Mr. Bare, if you could just come through so that people could see you and see this is the achievement that we've done as Ward 41. You're welcome, Mr. Bare. Mr. Emmanuel Bare.
Thank you. Nice to meet you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bare. Um, First and foremost, I think as a community, there's need for us to come together, remove the political jackets, remove any other interest that is not the interest of Ward 41. Um, as a community, if we do not pull together in one direction, you will see that 5 years will fly by very fast without us achieving anything. And this is why I felt that it was really important for me to try and promote the need for volunteers. Um, Before I was councillor, I was actually a volunteer in our community. We used to do a lot of youth programs. We used to do a lot of cleanups. We used to also assist the former councillor, Madam Charity Bango, what development committee. And those things are the issues that then motivated me to be where I am today. And I know that, as a community, if you come through together and identify projects that you agree, that you want to do in a particular time frame, you'll be able to achieve them. So I also just want you to also then recognize the what development volunteers that are in our midst. If maybe they could also then just stand up so that you could see the residents that have come through and volunteered to actually champion the developments of our ward. If you could just stand up for a minute. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And they are coming through from various suburbs in the ward. They've set up committees, 5 committees that they'll be focusing on. One is town planning and roads. Another is business, SMEs and youth and social activities. The other is finance. And the finance committee is the one that is going to be overseeing the ward retention fund. While as council, when we were coming up with the decentralization agenda, we realized that at times when things are done centrally, you've got programs at ward that will not be acknowledged at central level. So with the decentralization agenda, we've realized that when residents come through and pay their rates, a certain percentage of that is going to be taken back as the ward retention fund. And these committees, obviously with inputs from all other residents, will find programs that they want to do, and then the funding will go through to finance those programs. And I know we've got a lot of challenges as a community. And I feel instead of being crybabies, and fighting and attacking each other, we need to just then sit down and say, okay, everything is not okay in our ward. But what can we do as a community, as a family, as a team, to find homegrown solutions? No one is going to come through and save Ward 41. I will tell you this. The world is running on its own, doing its own things. The city of Harare is running, each ward is running, doing its own programs. So only us, can save and build the Ward 41 that we need. So we need more volunteers to come through. We need to come up and, have one purpose and, champion all those issues. I know the issues of youth have come up in most of the groups. There's a resident in the Red Roofs who's always, in my inbox, and he's saying that, Councillor, look at the amount of children that have died, for example, at Civic Theatre, just because of drugs. Look at, if you just drive down Elizabeth Windsor and Lumvuma, you see hordes of young men and women just, seated there taking drugs. The faces are now swollen. They all have, a look that you can see that, the internal organs, are being destroyed each and every day. You go to Area D, the issues of tuck shops are there, and people are using these tuck shops to sell drugs. Teenwood North, all around, we're having these challenges. So the issue of drugs is one that I feel is one of the most passionate issues that I want, the community to assist me on, as we get rid of drugs in Ward 41 for good. I'd invited the ZRP police, and they'd assured me that they're going to send a representative, so that we come up with a program that's, with the volunteers, we go through suburb by suburb. We know the people who are selling drugs in our areas. We know the people that are selling these illicit booze. So at times you have to then take, kind of the law into your own hands, and, get rid of these unwanted elements in the community. Mama Kumalo, I think so many times you have raised the issue of civic center, and you've raised the issues that, we know the people, they've been arrested numerous times, and, at the end of the day, you see them always coming back in the community. So we need to set um, a a message to the whole of Harare that, as Ward 41, we do not want drugs, we do not want illegal activities, because we're trying to build, a Ward 41 that, everyone can be proud of, that your children can walk and, be safe in. And this is one of my major passions. We've also seen that the issues of waste is one of the major challenges that we're facing. People are dumping litter everywhere. I think there was a time that, the waste truck was coming through every 2 weeks. I would send messages in the groups, other residents would forward. But then at the end of the day, in the evening, you'd see people coming back from work, and taking out their waste, and then just finding a space just to throw it in. And what it then does is, this is our own community, that we're making become a dump site. And when diseases, rodents come through, a lot of health challenges come through, they don't affect anyone else besides ourselves. So we need to come up with homegrown solutions. This is what I then said. And I think Honorable Mamombe, through the FCDF fund, she had then championed for us to have waste removal centers. And I think that is one of the center that is just waiting for the parliament clerks to come through and hand over. But then she identified spaces and put in four of these, so that, if the refuse truck does not come through, you've got places to then just come through and put in your waste, and someone will be working from there, separating the recyclable material from the organic, and then the rest then goes to Pomona. We've been having a lot of security issues, and I know Mr. Nyajena introduced himself to me, and I think there is a need for each and every community to be vigilant. We've got neighborhood associations in various areas, but then, the ZRP has also said it can come through and do the training of they call it the yeah, what's the name? I know it's triple C, but I don't want to be construed like I've said something. It's constabulary. Um, Mr. Nyajena, I think he's somewhere. If you could just assist me.
Crime Liaison Committee,
It's the
same thing.
Yes, it's the Crime Liaison Committee, or CLC. Oh, it's just changed. Thank you very much. Yeah, so they've said they can come through to the various centers and train your neighborhood watch personnel, to be compliant with the laws of the land, and also to us actually come up with programs, patrol programs. I know many of you remember that, you used to be part of patrol programs in the ward. Borodale has done it, Avondale has done it, where residents take turns to go around and patrol, with the sirens and the police, and, that in itself, it makes thieves and criminal elements be scared of the area, because when the rainy season comes, we've always noticed that the crime then, increases. So we need to be vigilant in terms of the crime issues in our area. And as I'm finishing off, I know we participated in the budget consultation processes, and the importance of the budget processes is that is where we get the allocation of funding to do major development and major programs in the ward. So it has gone through full council, and for the next 30 days, it's going to be displayed at the district office. And it gives an opportunity for residents to come through and see what programs have been approved by council for Ward 41. And then if there are any contributions that you'd want to do, then you then register them. So when it comes back to full council, we can be able then to input the wishes of the residents. As I finish off, I just want to speak about our wishes as policymakers when we're pushing the decentralization agenda. Before, residents used to come here and most would then call me and say, Councillor, I've got issues with my bill and I've been referred to Rowan Martin. Others would come, Councillor, I want to apply for piece of land. I want to apply for commercial land, industrial land, but I'm then being referred to Rowan Martin to go and apply the valuation. Others would say, I want to come through and apply for a residential stand, and now I'm being referred to Remembrance in Mbare. And what we have then done is we've seen that there's no need for us to inconvenience the residents and push them to all these various departments and areas of council. But then to make this district office, I know in the state that it's in, it doesn't look it, but we want this district office to be a one-stop shop so that at any given time, whatever service that council provides, you will be able to find it as this district office. The DO every Monday morning will be sitting with his team. If, let's say, in Avonlea there's been a report of a water burst, it comes through our office. I forward it to the DO every Monday. Then he plans his week, that the water beds that have been done, the grass cutting that needs to be done as we're going through our towards the rainy season. He will then allocate and be able to monitor his council staff that are in Ward 41 of the work that they'll be doing every week and every day. Everyone will be coming through, signing the moment they come to work, and then the time they leave, it will all be accountable for. Because I think this is one of the reasons that the issues that have been raised by residents, that we see council employees and they'll be just sitting. There might be 15 of them just working on one portal. There might be 15 of them just cutting grass on a small patch. At the end of the day, nothing has been done, and we've said that in our council won't be tolerated, and we're going to be really monitoring on the workmanship of our council employees. Thank you very much.
uh, in Ward 41. Let me also take this opportunity to recognize the citizens in Ward 41 who have come for this meeting. Like the councillor said, we must recognize the citizens first. So please allow me to recognize our citizens who have graced us here today. Then also, let me also recognize the Deputy Mayor of the City of Harare, Councillor Cllr Kadzombe. Let me also recognize our Town Clerk, Engineer Chisango, our DO, Mr. Bare, Maimbere Chena, who's leading the event today, all our employees in City of Harare, and also the Junior Mayor, Your Worship, I recognize you. Councillor Fadzai Matimba, our Councillor for PR Women, Harare Province, and the Councillor, the Junior Councillor for Ward 41, as well as our other junior councillors who are here today, and the members of the Fourth Estate who are also making sure that those who did not make it today will also be able to join us online. So my presentation today, I will touch on two things. The role of Parliament. That is why we've also distributed the flyers that distinguish the difference between council and also Parliament. It is very important as citizens and also as residents to know the different roles of your member of Parliament and also of your councillor, so that when you have issues that are direct to City of Harare, you approach the councillor. When there are issues that needs contributions from your member of Parliament, you direct them to the relevant office. So this is why we have printed the copies. So I hope every one of you is a flyer that is yeah. So some they do not have flyers. Please make sure each one of us is that flyer that tells us the different roles of our MPs and also for our councillors. So in my presentation, I will touch on two things: the role of Parliament and also our community engagement going forward. Our citizens, let me take this opportunity to thank you for coming in numbers to vote for your MP, Joanna Mamombe. I think here in Harare province, thank you. I think here in Harare province, Harare West is one of the constituencies that had most voters coming out to participate. Despite all the challenges that we faced during the elections, but we saw a huge turnout from the residents of Ward 41 as well as Ward 16. So I just want to thank you for the 18,000 votes that you casted for the Member of Parliament. Now, after elections, what happened? You need to know what happens after elections. So after the 23rd elections, we went on to the swearing in ceremony that was done on the 7th of September. So this is where you saw the members of parliament being sworn into office. This was on the 7th of September. Then we took almost a month to have our first sitting. These are now parliamentary procedures so that you also see why parliament has not been sitting and why your members of parliament have not been contributing. It is important that you know the steps and also the procedures, the protocols that are followed by the Parliament of Zimbabwe. Our first sitting in Parliament was on the 10th of October. This was our first sitting of Parliament. Then on this day, this is where you saw the recalls, our first recalls. This was on the first sitting on the 10th of October. This was just last month. On the first sitting day, we had a challenge where our members, where some of the members of parliament were recalled from parliament. Then there was a skirmish between the parliamentarians and also the police to the extent that the parliamentarians from my side, the Citizens Coalition for Change, were suspended from parliament until the 8th of November. So I'm just taking you through this procedure so that you understand why, as your MP, we have not been going to Parliament. We were suspended because of because of what happened after the recalls of our MPs. So we only started attending Parliament on the 8th of November, and it's very important for you, our citizens, to know why your member of Parliament has not been attending. So it was after that suspension, and it was also after, our deliberations in our political party to say we are disengaging from Parliament and also from Council. So we have only started participating in in Parliament activities on the 8th of November, which is that this week. So now I move on to the roles of the Member of Parliament. The first role of your Member of Parliament is lawmaking. So the first role is lawmaking. This is why we are legislators. So our fundamental role is to make sure that we participate in the law making processes. And how does that happen? When we have bills in parliament, the executive is the one that brings bills to parliament. So the executive, I refer to the president, the vice president, and the ministers. So that executive has a right and it has a role, it has an obligation to be bringing bills or new laws or any amendments to parliament. When those laws are brought to parliament, we as parliamentarians, we are the custodian of the constitution. So we have now an obligation to make sure that all the laws are aligned with our constitution that you guys participated in. So that is our number one role. So our obligation also is to play an oversight role. So the oversight role now is the committee stage. I think you have seen, you have read, or you know that in Parliament we have the different committees. The different committees, they resonate with the different ministries that are here in Zimbabwe. So, for example, if you have the Minister of Mines, or if you have the Ministry of Mines in Parliament, you also have a committee on that particular portfolio. So you have a committee on mines in Parliament. So, like what Mai Mberechena said, I was also recently appointed to chair the Committee on Environment, Climate, Wildlife, Tourism, and Hospitality. So this is also a very big opportunity for us as Harare West citizens and also as Ward 41 citizens to make sure that we have our voice when we are talking about issues to do with the environment, issues to do with climate change, issues to do with tourism and hospitality. So those are some of the issues that we do in Parliament. So the oversight role, it's done in committees. So when you have committees, you have the ministers appearing before the committee. Now we are just in the budget season, Councillor. We are now in the budget season, and during the budget season, our ministers will be coming to Parliament to present their budget bids. When they present their budget bids, us as members of Parliament, we then look at their expenditures and also even at their revenues in the last year, so that we allocate the appropriate funds, for the next coming year. For example, the 2024 budget. So those are some of the things that we do. And also on that point, we also receive petitions from members of the public, who are you guys, the citizens. You are allowed to petition Parliament. When you have an issue that you think Parliament is not addressing, that you think Council is not addressing, you have a right to send a petition to Parliament. And once a petition is sent, it's taken to the relevant committee, the portfolio committees that I'm just talking about. Let's say you're petitioning about wetlands, as an example. It then means the petition will come to my committee because I chair the committee on environment. And when that petition comes, we do what we call the fact-finding visits. We do the consultations with the residents or with the stakeholders that are involved in that particular issue. Then after that, we come up with a report, and in that report, we have recommendations. So it might be recommendations on laws, or it can be recommendations even on prosecution. It's also our mandate as members of Parliament. Then the third and the most important role of Parliament is the representative role. And I want to emphasize this one because when you're a member of Parliament, you have a constituency that you represent. I represent Harare West constituency. And my role is to make sure that I carry your aspirations, I carry your issues into the house. So this is where I need your maximum participation, your maximum contribution, because you elected me into office. The numbers that I was talking about here, the 18,000 numbers, it means a lot. So I would also want to see, an increase in your participation to make sure that I carry your vision, I carry your challenges into Parliament. Let's say, for example, we have a challenge of electricity, power. I have a role and duty and obligation to make sure that I go into Parliament, raise the issues to the relevant minister to say, what are you doing to make sure that the challenges that the residents are facing is addressed? So this is one of our roles. So for me to be able to fully represent you with excellency, the excellence you have shown in terms of voting, I need to hear the issues from you. So this is also the reason why when everyone was signing the data forms, we were collecting your information, and also we were giving you our cards so that the office of the MP is open to each one of you. There is my contact. There is also the contact of the office, because we want to have individual engagements with every one of you here. So now, I really want to commend and also to encourage every citizen, every resident of Ward 41 to say, our office is open. I have some of the volunteers who are working in my office with you today. They are amongst you. They are also taking note of the issues that you're going to raise during the plenary, so that we see which issues can we raise in the National Assembly, which issues go to the city of Harare. So this is the reason why we've given you the business cards. Then also, there are three ways we can raise issues in Parliament. As a member of Parliament, I can come up with a motion, and the motion can then be seconded. It can then be debated in Parliament. That is the first way of addressing some of the issues. The second one is already the one that I've talked about, the question and answer session. So the question and answer session is every Wednesday, and every minister it's a must that every minister is supposed to attend Parliament, so that they respond to the questions that will be raised by the different members of Parliament. So this is also one way of interacting with the ministers or the relevant authorities who are supposed to implement. So our role as Parliament is to make sure that the executive, who are the ministers, the president, the deputy ministers, we are here to make sure that they implement, because they are the implementers. We make the laws, we oversee the work that they are doing, but they need to make sure that they implement because they have the parastatals. They also do have the budget. So those are some of our roles as members of parliament. Then I'll also move on to the Constituency Development Fund, the CDF. So the CDF was introduced in Parliament as a way of championing development in our different constituencies. So this CDF, it's part of the national budget. So when we approve the 2024 budget, as an example, once it has been asserted to, we then make sure that in that budget, there is a certain portion for the Constituents Development Fund. So in that portion of the Constituents Development Fund, every MP must go and then apply to say this is the project that we want to do in our community. And how do you come up with the project? Every MP must have the Constituents Development Committee. And this Constituents Development Committee, I want to commend the councillor who has already come up with the word committee, word development committee, the WADCO. This is a very good thing that you have done, our councillor. So on that note, we need to make sure that also as a constituency, we have our own Constituents Development Committee. And this Constituents Development Committee is chaired by the Member of Parliament of that area. There's also a Senate of that province. Here in Harare, we have senators. Then also there is a PRMP, the Proportional Representation Member of Parliament. So those are the three members that must be in the committee. Then of course the residents. So you should make sure that you appoint you appoint the people that you'll be working with. And I want to commend even the Constituents Development Committee that was there in the last term, who did very well in terms of representation and also giving feedback to different residents in different suburbs. So in the last term, I'll then just update you on what was done last term since I was your MP in the 2018 to 2023 Parliament. So the CDF for 2018 to 2019 to 2020, we used it to drill boreholes in Ward 16. So this money, when it comes, also you have to know that it comes in the Zimbabwean dollar, what we call RTGS. I understand RTGS is just a platform, but we call it the Zimbabwean dollar. So this money, it's transferred or it's budgeted for in the Zimbabwean dollar, just like the budget, the national budget of Zimbabwe, as it is being presented by the Honorable Minister, it's in Zimbabwean dollar. I know we have issues, just like your Member of Parliament. We've tried to even debate and to push the minister to say the budget at least must be in US dollars, so that when the time comes, the money would not have been eroded by inflation. We can then have an exchange rate that will be prevailing at that particular time. So what we did is the first portion or the first allocation, we channeled it into Ward 16, where we then drilled our boreholes there. Then the second portion was channeled into Ward 41. So I've also made sure that in my Constituents Development Committee, the two councillors must also be there because they also interface with the residents at a council level or at a local level. So we need to make sure that they bring the issues or they bring solutions to the challenges that you're also facing. So like the councillor said, for Ward 41, after the consultations with the residents and also with the local councillor, there was a problem of waste management, which we then resolved that maybe the CDF can contribute as a solution to deal with the waste challenges. So we then came up with what we call the waste management centers, and we've done those 4 here in Ward 41. So this was the second phase of our Constituents Development Fund. So we are yet to then, because there's also a procedure that Parliament follows where the Parliament comes in to then hand over the project to council, because it's not also our duty after the development. We then make sure that the relevant project is handed over to the relevant authority for maintenance and also even for future use. Because as an MP, I do not want to then, privatize the certain project that would have implemented. So would then hand over to council. So we are yet to do that, and I'm happy that among the residents, there's also one Parliament employee who is very conversant with the issues of CDF. My name will just stand up so that the other residents can see you. She's a resident in Marlborough, but she's also an employee of Parliament. Now, let me just talk about the 100-day plan. Sorry, you didn't see it. My name, just greet the people. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so let me just also move on to the constituency engagement processes, which I've spoken about as my third parliamentary role, which is also very important. So for this term, we have made sure that there is a deliberate and an intentional way of engaging with citizens. How have we done that? We have now liaised with City of Harare to give us space to work from. As you know that here in Harare West, we do not have a community hall where the member of parliament can operate from. So I have liaised with the councillor, with the two councillors to have spaces at the district offices. So I'm happy to tell you that we have our office here at Marlborough district office. We also have our office at Meborain district office as the MP's office. So that is the first thing. So the times for opening, I'm sure it's also part of the business cards. We'll make sure it's Monday to Friday from 9 o'clock to 4 p.m. So 9 o'clock to 4 p.m. Monday to Thursdays. Then on Fridays, we'll close at 1 p.m. So this will be the schedule for our engagements. Then also the second thing, we know that we have vast groups of residents in our social media platforms, our WhatsApp platforms. So what we have done as an office, we have said instead of responding to all the 156 groups in the constituents, we have now came up with the plan of opening a WhatsApp groups for at least maybe two representatives or two administrators to join that WhatsApp group. So this is where the administrators will bring in the issues that are being raised by members of that suburb. So let's say we have four Marlborough groups. We then take two people from each of the four Marlborough residence groups. Then we create one group where myself and also my office volunteers will be in that group to respond and also to address some of the issues and maybe to just take note of the issues that you'll be raising so that I can raise them in Parliament. Then also the other thing is that we have this kind of feedback meetings, Deputy Mayor, after every 3 months. We want to have these interfaces meetings after every 3 months. But someone can ask, Honorable, what do we do, before the 3 months period? So what we'll be doing, we'll make sure that every month we have a newsletter that will be coming from the office of the MP. So the newsletter will be addressing the issues that you have raised and also even the proffered solutions that you would also raised in that newsletter. Then, of course, what we want to do here is to develop a culture of transformation. What we are saying is that the mantra of your representatives is that citizens are at the center. So when citizens are at the center, we also need to develop some culture of transformation and some culture of ownership. We want you to own the communities that you stay in. We want you to own the ward. We want you to own the constituency. So how do we make sure that we breed that culture of ownership? So we'll be announcing different events. For example, let's say we are having a tree planting day. We'll make sure that as a community we come together, we participate in those different activities. That's culture, transformation or also excellence. So we'll be announcing those in due course. Then, of course, we have the ongoing crisis of waste management. I know that City of Harare is their duty, but also as residents, we might also contribute. We might also reclaim those areas, the dump sites that are troubling us, because these problems of waste management. Yes, council can do its part, but also as residents, we need to make sure that we contribute. We also play our part as citizens. So what I'm proffering here is that we can have a program, Your Worship, the Deputy Mayor, of reclaiming the dump sites. Those dump sites that are now a menace to our residents, let's reclaim them. I think we have seen projects in Bluffview where residents have come together, they reclaim the dump sites, they clear the waste, and after clearing that waste, they can maybe put a garden or maybe put flowers, on those dump sites. So it's a way that also it's a way of managing our waste, and it's an innovative way of dealing with this challenge as a community. So those are some of the issues that will be doing. Then, of course, the meet and greets, because we want to increase visibility among us the residents. So we'll be carrying out meet and greets, maybe at shopping centers, maybe during the church services and so forth. So those are some of the issues that we'll be dealing with. Then, of course, lastly, my Chena, of course, lastly, is the engagement process, which I'm going to emphasize. We have handed you over the business cards. Please, there is no protocol in approaching your member of parliament. This is an open office. We are here today because of your processes. We are here today because of your love. We are here today because you stood in queues, long queues, to elect us into office. So our offices are very open. My office and also the office of the deputy mayor. We want to engage with you at a personal level. So please do not hesitate to contact me on my personal line, or also to contact the office line. You will be helped there. Then, of course, please, let's raise issues. Let's raise issues that I can also carry in parliament. I want to stand up and be saying, for example, the residents of Maubra, have given me, they have sent me to this parliament to speak about the challenges that they are facing. My pensioners in Maubra, my pensioners in Avonlea, my pensioners in Tinold, they have sent me to speak about issues of pension. This is just an example. So I want to carry that voice. So please do not hesitate. Let's make it happen. Let's continue working together. I thank you.
Good afternoon once again. Allow me to acknowledge the presence of the Honorable Member of Parliament for Harare West, Honorable Hon Mamombe, the Deputy Mayor of Harare, Her Worship Cllr Kadzombe, the Town Clerk of Harare, City Council officials, and my fellow junior councillors. And most importantly, I would like to acknowledge your presence as the residents of Marlborough. Thank you very much for coming. Allow me to thank you all for coming to this event. It is indeed comforting to know that the residents are taking an active part in all issues to do with the various operations that concern the city, and they're given the opportunity to voice out their concerns as to the people who represent. I would like to thank you, Honorable, for opening a channel of communication between yourself and the residents. This allows them to really get to know you and to get to have a say in what really happens in the city. Dear residents, allow me to commend your dedication and commitment, as well as your continued support of the Harare City Junior Council. We truly look forward to the development of our city, Honorable Your Worship, as well as Engineer Comfort. We look forward to decentralization. And as the Harare City Junior Council, would like to thank you for having us as the residents. Would like to thank you for supporting some of our projects, such as our fight against drug abuse. Would like to thank you for other projects that you've been supporting us over the past couple of years. Um, we'd also like to welcome any support from the residents that would come to the Harare City Junior Council. Like I mentioned before, we are facing problems like drug abuse. We're facing problems like littering around the city. We're also trying to do a hygiene drive. Would really appreciate your support. And as the worship said, we'd like to come together as a community, because when we come together, we will surely achieve more and be united. We therefore look forward to seeing you again on the next weekend meeting. Thank you very much.